Welcome back, everyone. I am Sci-Fi Shipyards, and I am here creating a 3D model of the original Constitution class USS Enterprise in Sketchup. This is a very basic tutorial meant for beginners, um, just to give you a rough idea about how to create this awesome ship. I am using a great set of schematics by Nova Designs, so many thanks to Nova Designs. Go and check out his work. And let's continue, shall we? So, in the last few videos, I've taken you through how to create pretty much all of the major aspects of the model: the saucer section, the main hull, the navigational deflector dish at the front, even the little bridge section, and the little nodule at the bottom of the saucer there. I've just noticed actually that my saucer section might be a little bit off kilter here. Let's just have a quick look. Yeah, look at that. Not very good. What went wrong there, I wonder? So this is always a good learning opportunity. If you get round to your model and you think to yourself, hang on a minute, that's not quite on center, there are ways of aligning it up. So what we'll do is we'll go to the parallel view and we'll go to the top. And I'm just going to cut this off here. Now, I've switched the view from normal geometry, which was like this before, which just gives you a view of like the general face of the model. And I'm going to change the camera to hidden geometry. Now, this shows you all of the softened surfaces and edges of the model, which you can then work from and manipulate if necessary. So just going into the model, I'm going to see where that center line is there at the top. And I'm going to draw a straight line down there. And then I'm going to paste my bridge model into there. And you can see quite clearly that it's not where it should be. These little lines, or these little red crosses here, show me where the exact center line of the model is. So within that box, they mark where the vertical and where the horizontal centers are. And if you highlight over them, a little green wheel comes up and you can rotate it along that axis. Likewise, if you're looking at it from the front, use the move button, and again the same set of little red crosses come up, and now you can move it along the red axis, and so on and so forth. But going back to where we were, we want to make sure that this bridge is nicely in the middle. So I'm going to use the red cross there. That shows me then that this line here, I'll just highlight it with the line there. That line there is the center line. So utilizing that, I'm going to just find the point where it meets the rest of the model. And you'll normally find where if you hover your mouse over where two surfaces sort of interact with each other, a little X will appear. That shows you that you're hovering at just the very point where one part of the model passes through the other. I'm going to click on that point and just drag it along the axis and right onto that center line which I drew. And then that assures me that when I look at it, especially from the top view there, that part of the bridge module now has been nicely lined up with the middle of the saucer section. Likewise, this one here, we'll just move that along. And I'm just off it there, you can see. So again, where the little X appears, where that line disappears into the rest of the hole, slide that across. And now that I've aligned everything up nicely, I can get rid of my marker lines, my little guidelines. There we go. I could soften them or do whatever, but I'll get rid of them just for now. There we go. There we go. So actually, it's, I try not to make many mistakes when I'm showing you this, but sometimes if I do make an error, it is a learning opportunity. So it's a good chance to show you a way of getting around a problem or undoing something that you've done. So there we go. Ship's not looking too bad at the moment. However, I am not hugely happy with this section here. The first part of the model I made was some time ago, and admittedly I was trying to keep things fairly basic. It wasn't meant to be a 100% accurate model. But nevertheless, I would like to try and go back and just remake this. Because you know why? Because I'm a stickler. I'm a stickler for perfection on these things. So, what can we do here? Okay. I'm going to remake this whole forward section here. I'm not too displeased with my dish. That wasn't too bad. I took some liberties with the little antenna coming out the front there. But this section here could use a little bit of work. And I want to make sure that whatever shape I'm creating now perfectly matches up the circumference of this hull. And I know that the widest point of this hull is where this dark blue line is here that I've highlighted. So I'm going to highlight that line. I'm going to Control C to copy it. I'm going to slide the rest of that model to one side by 100 meters. Alrighty. And then I'm going to paste that in place. So I know now, no matter what happens, whatever shape I create, I've got pretty much the right circumference and the right number of edges to match it up to the rest of the model. Okie dokie. So, what to do now? All right, so if I go to the top of that circle, it automatically draws an imaginary line down to the center line. You can see there's a little dash, a fake grey dashed line, and the little blue dot there, that highlights for me exactly where the center of that circle is. So it's a handy little tool. So thank you for doing that, SketchUp. That's awesome. I'm going to draw a little right angle line in there. Now that gives me the exact center line of that circle to work from. And from there, I can, create whatever else I need to create. Okay. Come back a little bit here. Again, I must stress that when I do finally create this model and it's finished, it's not going to be a 100% accurate recreation, but we'll try and get it as close as we can. I am mainly intending this video to be for entertainment and educational purposes. And I'm sure when you guys finally get to creating your own enterprises, you're going to do a much better job than me. It's not hard. Okay. There we are. Now, for a lot of the other edges I've done in this model, I would have rounded them off. But on this one, in this particular part here, the edges are actually quite sharp. So I'm going to maintain that. Leave it as it is. You can see here, though, the profile I've drawn more closely matches the original Enterprise hull there. Get rid of all that center stuff there. We'll cut out the background just for now so I can see the rest of the circle. And once again, we're going to use the Follow Me tool just on the left-hand side there. And we'll follow the path round of the circle that we've created. Oops. And a bit cray-cray there. Now, the reason it's sort of glitching out a little bit might be because I'm too much of an angle from my view. It seems to have matched okay there, though. If I'd gone round to this kind of angle and tried to do it from there, you can see I've got a sort of better view of the whole circle there, uninterrupted. That probably would have been a better thing to do, but this is done now, so that's not too bad. Now, if I remember correctly, this section here should actually be hollow and form a series of like concentric rings. So, okay. I'm going to make this part here a group and get rid of it. I'm going to fill in this circle here and get rid of that. Now I've just got the flat face. I'll bring that in. Doesn't need to be too thick, approximately. In fact, I don't know why I'm guessing here. I've got a front view I can work off. Yeah, that'll do. I'm not going to be too religious about this. I know. On the one hand, I'm banging on about like being faithful to the original, and on the other hand, I'm banging on about rushing things through just for educational purposes. I'll try and hit the kind of middle ground between the two. We'll soften this. Lovely. We won't keep that previous part I put into a group. We'll just extrude this one a little bit. There we go. And that gives us a far better version of what we need. Just using the push-pull tools there. There we go. Yeah, that looks a bit better, eh? We'll pull this back by 100 meters again. And we see there now that that initial line that I used matches the hole perfectly. So I'm going to cut that. Paste that back into place. And again, if you look at the hidden geometry, you now see that the edges all perfectly match up. Which helps to get a better look overall on the model. Now our dish is a little bit recessed there, so we'll just pull him out a little bit. We'll probably need a bit more of a stalk going in. So we'll just push and pull that out. There we go. And in he goes. Let's go back to our view. Yeah. All right. That's looking a little bit better now, eh? Even if I say so myself. I am going to get rid of this center line here. Probably don't need it. But sometimes, I tell you what a good idea to do is. You can see here in the model, this line here that's sticking out the front, this one here, represents the absolute center of all of these circles of the secondary hull. So although I don't necessarily want to keep that line there, I can put in, I often do this in my models, I'll put in like a little L shape like that and then soften it so that it essentially becomes invisible. There we go. So to all intents and purposes, oops, what have I done there? I've deleted everything. Sorry about that. Right, that's better. Try not to delete the model, sorry. Sheesh. So if I ever need to sort of rotate anything or rotate anything about the center, I've always got that little marker in there hidden to tell me where the middle of the model is. And sometimes that's handy for like various shapes. So for example, let's say for example, I wanted to create, and I'm going off on a bit of a tangent here, but bear with me. Let's say for example, I wanted to create like a kick-ass warship version of the USS Enterprise from a different dimension or something like that. And you know what? I'm going to give it these big ass phaser cannons on the side. Okay. And I'm just doing this very roughly just for give you an argument's sake. Okay. So here we go. I'm going to move these in there. Perfect. And these things are going to have big sort of phaser antenna sticking out the front. I am actually taking way too long with this tangent. I apologise, but I've got into a funk now. All right, so there we go. The Enterprise. She's got these big laser guns on the side now. Cool. Now, if I wanted to put it either side of the model, I can do that. I can literally just paste it into place there. Flip the model along. I'll try and get the right axis on this one. Nope. Third time's a charm. Blue axis. Come on, baby. There we go. Whew. There we go. And paste it into place there. So there we go. I've now got it equally positioned on both sides of the hull there, okay? However, I might decide one day that actually, you know what? I'm going to go ridiculous with this, and I want to make sure now that these phaser cannons are rotated equally along all parts of the hull. So I want, like, 20 of these things. It's going to be the ISS Enterprise on steroids. So I've now, because I've positioned that little L shape in the middle there, I know exactly where the center line going through the model is. All the center line around here, you see this circumference. So I'm going to put my rotation marker directly on that point, select the part that I want to duplicate and press Control, and then it copies it and rotates it around the ship. And let's say, for example, I wanted to have them all over the place. Let's do one there. Again, I'm going to do maybe like times 10 or times 12. There we go. Not exactly precise work there, but you get the idea. Now I've got this ridiculous looking Enterprise with 20 phaser cannons all rotated around the front there. All right. A silly thing there, but it just helps sometimes. I do sometimes create ships with little rotating parts that all rotate around the center line of the model. So just having that little marker there can actually be handy to have. Okay. We're not looking too bad here. There are some little side details actually that I do want to add on. What do they look like? I see. These little blocks here. So I'm going to create a rectangle. Maybe a little bit bigger. Nice. And I'm going to round off the edges there. Duplicate that and flip it. And then I'm going to pull that right up. Now, again, sometimes when you're working off schematics, it doesn't matter how hard you try or how good the schematics are. Sometimes they can be a little bit off where they're meant to be or out of position. So you might just have to work with it and move things around accordingly. So again, just like beforehand where the bridge module was a little bit off center, I can see here that this isn't quite where the center line is. This line, I'll just highlight it, just here represents where the center line of the ship is from a side angle. I'm just going to rotate that along that way until they match up, and that's nicely in the center. Another way of doing it would have been just to highlight everything. Pick a halfway point exactly on the edge where it glows blue. That tells me then that that's the halfway point. I'm going to lower that down until it makes contact, like so. Great stuff. I'm going to make that a component. Put that in the model. Get rid of it. At least slide it over. Okay. We're just going to go over. Now we can see here that this kind of blends itself into the hull. It's an interesting little problem to solve. How do we focus on that? So we have the problem with our hull whereby if we lower it too far down, it just doesn't, it's not viewy enough. You can't view enough of it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a slightly unorthodox approach and I'm going to angle the leading edge of this. And again, this is a nice different technique to teach you. So check this. We're going to draw a line from the leading parallel edge. From that straight line onwards, the rest of the shape curves in or tapers in. So we know that this leading edge here is the very furthest point of this here, which is a flat straight edge. Okay, so from there I'm going to draw a sloped line down to precisely where this shape intersects with the secondary hull. Now, because it's a straight edge here, I can push pull there and slide it out. And you can see here, if I just soften that, that's not too bad. You got options. The other option I could do is copy this flat surface on the top here, undo everything I've done, paste it into place, and then use the scaling button to increase the size of it. Okay, let's lift all of this out from the model so it doesn't interfere with it. What have we got there? Let's do 5 meters. This is a nice round number. Okay. I'm going to cut this now. Paste it in. So now it's ungrouped. It interacts directly with the rest of the model. And I'm going to intersect faces. Soften everything out a little bit. Highlight this top section here and get rid. All right. And now my surface is absolutely flat all along the top there. Whereas beforehand, I had this little line going across where everything from this line forward was completely horizontal and the rest of it was sloped. So now I've just got this nice, smooth, flat surface. Oops, let's get rid of that little line there. It doesn't have to actually be nearly as deep as this. And when we lower it down into place, let's try that again. Along that green axis, so we know that we're still along the center line. Let's just pick that center point there. And lower it down. Alrighty. Cool beans. Yeah, not bad. If I really wanted to show off, maybe I think to myself, oh, perhaps the angle is a little bit too harsh. It's too sloped. I can actually use the scale button now to take care of it from the bottom up and just lessen that a little bit. There we go. Not bad, not bad. I do have a very harsh edge around here though, and I might think to myself, oh, do you know what would be nice? Be nice if I could bevel that. So beveling is basically just a term for like rounding off an edge. And you often find that the 3D world acts very different to the real world. So in the real world, if we were working with metals and you had a like a right angle bent into metal, yes, it would have a like a very sharp edge on it, but it would never absolutely be an absolute edge, if that makes sense. It would never be a 100% edge. It would always be a fact that, you know, two faces of the metal were either welded together or connected somehow or bonded, or the metal was actually bent to a right angle. So even though, you know, it's the same thing when you look at stealth ships, you know, they've all got these flat edges, like a trapezoid kind of shape. But the edges are never absolutely 100% sharp edges. They're always absolutely slightly beveled. And sometimes that can be the real difference between making the piece of work look sort of semi-professional and really amateur-y, you know? So for something like this, I'll show you now and the difference that it can make, but I'm going to keep you this one here and just show you a like-for-like comparison. So I'm actually... this one is a component at the moment. If you decide actually that you don't want it to copy everything that happens in your primary box, you can make it unique. And now everything you do here won't affect it in there. It's as if the two are actually grouped boxes instead of component boxes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a beveled edge on top of this surface. So just to make sure like I get a reasonable curve here, I'm going to do my little arch. In fact, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to create like a little square actually. There we go. This, if I make the square box here, the little diagonal line, you can see if I go across too long or too short. If I do the line here, it gives me a basic square shape. So I know now that all the edges are exactly the same length. And I've got a perfect square. And from there, I'm going to make my little slice of pie. 5 sides long on that, so nothing too complex. I'm going to place that on top. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use the follow me tool. Hopefully if I could see it all, there we go. Come all the way back around and back again. There we go. And we'll just move this up here. All right. Does that get rid of that? No, that's fine. Don't know why it's not liking those edges there. This is where having a component can help. Oh, not liking that. Okay, well, we'll keep that line there then and just hide it for now. Sometimes Sketchup's going to do what it's going to do. And I know there's probably a logical reason why that kind of stuff happens there, but I can't be asked to explain it right now. So, but what we got there then is essentially the beveled edge. If I fully soften that, does it have a little edge on the inside there? Yes, it does. So we'll get rid of that. There we go. If you have this kind of effect, basically, let's just undo that and redo that again. So if you have this effect, I want to get rid of this central line here and make everything soft and one nice smooth surface without this central line here being visible. If you highlight everything and go to soften coplanar and soften normals, and it still won't disappear, that means that you've actually got a hidden surface in there. And if I just highlight this top section and get rid of it, You can see there's my hidden surface lurking underneath. It's completely hidden, completely unnecessary. So if you get rid of that, delete it, and then place your former surface back where it belongs, and now you do it, everything will disappear nicely. And you've got that beautiful, smooth, beveled edge. And you can see here immediately the difference in how that looks between this very unnatural looking sharp edge and this beveled edge here. It doesn't have to be the case for every surface you do, especially on a ship. With a lot of them, it can really make the difference between something that looks quite cool and quite professional and something that doesn't. All right. You know what we're going to do? We're going to lower that in ever so slightly more. Get rid of this now. A little bit of wiggling in the repositioning there. Again, not 100% accurate, but it gets the job done. Lovely. And if you really want to go cray-cray on the detailing, they've included, I think I heard this from Doug Drexler initially, but they include an old 1920s Art Deco style here called gingerbreading. And essentially all that is like a series of little grooves in there, or lines. It really does depend how mental you want to go on your detailing there. Obviously, the more what we call greebles or details that you add, the more complex it's going to be. For now, they normally have little rounded edges and whatnot. I am not going to go that crazy. We'll copy that, maybe times 3. That will do for now. Use the push pull to go down. Now, once you've gone down to a certain height on your first push pull, you can just double tap on the rest of them and they'll match it. Great. Oh, fine. Let's undo that. All right. I need to get a life, man. I'm far too much of a stickler for detail. But all right, check this out. We'll do it slightly differently. We'll bring it back a teeny bit. We'll do a half circle at either end. There we go. Again, not absolutely perfect, not absolutely ideal, but the sentiment is there, and more importantly, the technique is there. All right. And again, this can be a nice example of just rotating around the center line. So from there, remember that little hidden L shape I put in earlier? Control to duplicate it, and then we'll bring that along the other side nicely. Oof, not bad. Let's have a look at it without the edges. Yeah, okay, not bad. Not great, but not bad. If you look at it without any edges whatsoever, it looks even better. Okay. Right, we're getting there, guys. Let me come back to you in the next video, and then I'll show you how to add a few more little details, maybe a couple of windows, and I really want to get onto some texturing work as well. All right. Cheers, guys. See you in the next one.